Well, I don't think that's even true, but that's the line that they're using. With that, let's welcome into the program Trump 2024 Senior Advisor Alina Habba. It's good to see you. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so I've seen some words being thrown around. Hakeem Jeffries, the Democratic leader in the House, said Republicans are having a meltdown over this. An email from the Harris campaign said Trump and Vance, they are terrified of Kamala Harris and the prospect of facing her ahead of November. What's your reaction to that?
This is a devil we know, right? So Kamala Harris is the same person who was in charge of one thing, going to the border, becoming vice president, acting as a vice president, and she failed. So this is not an unknown. This is somebody that was part of the ticket, was part of the last 3.5 failed years of presidency, and is somebody who likes, as President Trump says, to speak in rhymes. That's pretty much all she's good at. So no, we're not terrified. We saw this one coming a mile away. And it's quite honestly the same thing. You know, the reality of the situation is, if you look at the polls, it's not Trump versus Biden specifically. It's Trump versus Biden and his policies and what he's made America. And those policies are the same policies as Kamala Harris. And she was a part of that term. She is incredibly integral part of that term, and frankly a failure like their term. So frankly, fake news, sorry, but that's not the case. Team Trump is stronger than ever. We're not worried at all.
Would you guys have programmed the convention that just wrapped up from last week differently if you had known a few days earlier that she's the opponent? It would have been exactly the same.
No. If you look at what President Trump spoke about, not once did he mention President Biden, because we knew it wasn't going to be Joe Biden. Joe Biden, as I've said a million times, cannot walk, cannot spell Bob backwards, and doesn't know where he is. Now, if it was him, I mean, God bless, but it's not something that was not foreseen. Realistically, though, here we are. It's the same person that was part of that presidency, part of the ticket, part of the policies. The change is a zero. It's really ineffective to us as far as I'm concerned. As far as President Trump's concerned, this is a hoax on the American people, unfortunately. Anybody who was voting Democrat has now been told that you don't get to select your nominee. We're going to select it ourselves. And by the way, it's Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, and Soros. Those were the first people that jumped up and said, we're backing her. Well, it's no surprise. The Democrats don't give the American people a choice. That's not the way they operate. They tell you who you're going to vote for. And the donors tell you who you're going to vote for. Republicans don't work that way. And as President Trump said in his rally in Michigan, Republicans have become the voice of America, and the Democrats, unfortunately, are no longer.
Are you guys going to pursue any legal action? Is this maybe problematic that they're ignoring their primary? Or are you going to stay out of that?
Well, you know, as an attorney, I would never speak to any planned strategy on that. I can tell you that much. As an advisor to the campaign, I can tell you that, listen, lawfare is something that they cooperate and coordinate. At the end of the day, we protect the American people's ability to vote. And what will happen will happen. I think the DNC will speak to that, to be honest. I think America will speak to that November 5th. And they will speak to the fact that they have been told who their nominee is without any opportunity to select it themselves.
Alina Habba, thanks for coming in tonight. Appreciate it.
Thank you.